My entitled mom stole $8,000 from me and committed credit card fraud by opening credit cards in my name. Growing up, my mom was always in and out of jail for stealing. The last time she was arrested was in 2015, and I was 19 years old at the time. She always said she stole to provide for our family, but we never lived in a stable home. She would just blow money on expensive gifts and tell us because we have these expensive items, we're not poor. She basically tried to justify it by saying, how many poor kids do you know who has stuff like that? Mind you, this is all while we live hotel to hotel. Growing up, I became the financially responsible child. I worked multiple jobs, I got good grades, and I did community service. As a result, I was able to save up $8,500 for college with multiple scholarships. During my hard work in high school, I also helped my mom with bills and paying for whatever she needed help with. When I left for college, she was arrested again, and I had to be dropped off states away by my aunt for my first day of college. I asked my mom for my college money, and she said she would transfer the money when she got out. When she got out, it all magically disappeared. She tried to blame my dead grandmother for stealing the money, but in 2019, I discovered multiple credit cards and some apartment that was late on bills all opened under my name. I cried to my mom about all these issues, and she confronted me and asked me for more money. So at the time, I gave her more money. I graduated with a bachelor's degree and went to grad school. I was able to get into grad school for 1 year before I needed to take out some loans. I applied, but I was denied due to all the negative items on my credit score. My mom told me to just pay it off, but I didn't do that and instead dropped out of college. I was absolutely devastated, but I wasn't going to pay for other people's fun ride. I called all the credit card companies and got the address for all the credit cards, and lo and behold, they were all my mom's addresses. When confronted, she broke down, saying it was my grandmother and how dare I blame her for that. She demanded an apology and didn't speak to me for a week. My grandmother died before all the credit cards were opened. I filed a police report against my mother, but she doesn't know that yet. But when she does find out, I'm sure she's going to be incredibly upset. What a horrible situation to be in. I can't imagine having multiple credit cards open in my name, as well as an apartment under my name with all these bills and payments to make. That must be horrible. The original poster went on to say that when it comes to their credit card, they have gotten a lot of it taken off of their name, and there's only 2 cards and 1 bill on their credit score left that they're trying to figure out, which is really good. Hopefully this can lead to them getting back into grad school and furthering their education. I honestly can't imagine having my entire life derailed, all because of a family member who decided to try and take away my future. My boyfriend completely forgot my birthday, and I don't know what to do or how to even respond. So I met him 5 to 6 months ago, and we dated for 3 months. He then had to move, and we are long distance for now. It's been about 2 months long distance, and we talk every day, and I'm going out to visit him in 10 days for about 10 days in total. While he was here, the topic of birthdays naturally came up, so we told each other our birthdays. He mentioned that he's very bad with dates, and that his sister often has to remind him of his parents' birthdays, so he can pick up a birthday gift. He said he would do his best to remember mine. It's been a while since that conversation, and I was positive that he forgot it. I thought it would be awkward to just say nothing, and then mention that it was my birthday on the day of. The thing is, my best friend is getting married the day after my birthday, and since it's largely the same group of people, I decided not to have any kind of dinner, party, or gathering this year. So as we were chatting, I mentioned to him saying, so my birthday is next week, but I'm not doing much for it because of the wedding. Essentially, I was reminding him in an effort to avoid any issue of him forgetting. From his blank reaction, I am absolutely sure that he forgot it. He just said, oh, that's okay, you can celebrate another time. I thought to myself, okay, well, at least I reminded him. I didn't expect anything much. Just a verbal happy birthday would have been great, and maybe we would celebrate when I see him soon. Well, my birthday was today, and he of course forgot it. In fact, he only realized it because a few of my friends sent me flowers, candy, and other things, and I posted a picture on Instagram in my story. In truth, I'm very hurt. I mean, I even reminded him myself, and still he forgot. I feel if it was important, he would have remembered, especially after my blatant reminder, but now I'm not sure what to do. I feel like I'll come across as making a big deal over nothing, and the last thing I want to do is to try upsetting him. But if I say nothing, I'm faking it. Again, just a simple verbal happy birthday would have made me happy. I didn't expect anything elaborate. How can I handle this situation? Am I being childish to be upset? What should I do? I think this definitely is something you should talk to him about. Your birthday obviously means a lot to you, and you don't want to set up a pattern for future celebrations of other events where he just forgets it and then you tell him after the fact. Like maybe explain to him, hey, this was a really important day to me, and I really wanted to celebrate this in some way, even if it's just a simple verbal happy birthday. Like it's still important to me. I think having a conversation somewhere along those lines will hopefully help him realize that, hey, next time I gotta do better. And this guy has a phone with a calendar on it. Like it's not that hard to set a reminder on your phone that says, hey, I got a birthday coming up with my girlfriend, I gotta make sure I celebrate it. This literally would have solved all of his problems right then and and there. So in that regard, I think there's not much of an excuse as to why he didn't celebrate your birthday. I think having this conversation with him will also really establish that these types of events are really important to you, because obviously for whatever reason, it doesn't hold the same weight for your boyfriend. Maybe for whatever reason, he just doesn't view birthdays as that important, which might explain why he forgets his parents' birthdays all the time. So I really think if you talk to him and work it out, you guys can find some kind of common ground and understanding with one another where the important dates are remembered and properly celebrated. My female friend doesn't want me to leave her, even though she doesn't view me romantically and she has a boyfriend. And now I'm just really confused. I know this is a tricky one, but hear me out. I was always upfront about how I feel for her. I never lied, and I was open about my romantic feelings towards her. She told me that after an accident, she felt like I didn't fit the criteria for the person that she wanted to be with. I said that is fine, and after some heartbreaking deliberation, decided that I couldn't be friends with her. A little more background, she didn't outright tell me that she lost attraction. She waited a few months as she was hoping I'd just get it after constantly turning me down. And I will admit it, I was being very clueless and obviously deliberately ignorant. She now has a boyfriend, and he's a cool dude, I assume, but he lives a plane flight away. We talked about everything together, and I even helped her with her emotional troubles. We even had a few vulnerable moments. When she told me how she really felt, I was devastated. I thought I could try being friends for a bit, but I realized after seeing her face light up, talking about this other guy, that it was just too much. I didn't just cold shoulder her either. I helped her work on finding a support system that she can trust with her honest feelings and was preparing to move on with my life. It just doesn't feel like I should stick around to be this negative, jealous energy when she's doing well. She is a super bright and very charming individual, so I know that she will be okay. She says she loves me as a person and sees value in me, but I still really like her. I told her it was basically asking me to torture myself just so we could stay friends, but she thinks that love is wanting what's good for the other person, even if it means you don't get what you want. And while I agree to an extent, that just made me feel very confused. I'm just not sure what to do here. Like I said, I really do like her, but with all things considered, I honestly don't know if I could be friends with her. What should I do? I think in my opinion, it's honestly time to put yourself first. She does not have the same feelings towards you. She does not like you in that way, but it sounds like she wants to try and keep you around for some reason, even though this is very painful for you. Like, you obviously like her more than just friends, so trying to stay friends is probably going to be really hard. So I completely understand when you say, hey, I don't think this is going to work out. And you said it yourself, she is head over heels in love with this guy, but I think it's really irresponsible of her to expect you to have to stick around and be friends with her. In my eyes, it comes off as very manipulative and not very fair for you, and I think she's right in some regards. Love means that you don't always get what you want, and if anything, that just means that you are not going to be in her life. She's not going to get what she wants in that regard. I feel like this is a very one-sided situation where she wants what she wants, but she doesn't really care what your interests are. Like that little cliche that she threw your way, it literally goes both ways. I'm sure you had some fantastic times with this girl, and I know you obviously still care about her, but for your own sanity, it's time to move on. You'll be happier being away from that situation, and you won't be so tortured knowing that she has a boyfriend and that boyfriend is not you. She is not the only fish in the sea, and you will find someone who loves you just the way you are. My boyfriend has a work wife and is continuing an inappropriate relationship with her after I told him multiple times how I feel, and I honestly don't know what to do. I've been with my boyfriend for a few years. We generally don't have any issues, typically just a few stupid arguments that get resolved rather quickly. He started a new job and has a group of co-workers that he usually talks to. The majority of them are women, with the exception of one other guy and himself. I never worried about him cheating, but as a girl, I just didn't like seeing him have all of these group chats and separate direct messages with some of these girls. But I'm not the type of person to tell him that he's not allowed to talk to certain type of people. Last year, I was showing him some videos, and there was one about people that have work girlfriends and boyfriends. I forget why I showed him that video, but it wasn't because I thought he had one. I think it was geared towards why people shouldn't have one. Anyways, I continue showing him videos, and then he stopped me to tell me that he has a work girlfriend, and it's one of the girls in his work friend group. I was heartbroken. I know some people consider it cheating, but I don't. Just incredibly disrespectful to me. I told him how I felt about it and assumed that was the end of it. Every time I would see this girl message him, I would get annoyed, but I just kept that to myself. A few months later, he was sleeping, and I just had a feeling that I needed to check his phone. In the past, he would tell me I could read the messages he has with some of these people, but I didn't think I needed to. Anyways, I found messages in their coworker group chat of them still calling each other work husband and wife, which feels worse than work boyfriend and girlfriend. In their private direct messages, they would send each other suggestive memes, talk about some really inappropriate stuff, as well as things that they find attractive about other people. In addition, he lied to me about driving her home from a gathering that this coworker group had. I was bawling my eyes out. When he woke up, I told him what I found, and he was just quiet. I was saying how hurt and upset I was, asking if he had feelings for this girl and if he wanted to be with me. I told him to leave since he wasn't saying anything. He then told me that she has a boyfriend, and he said he thought I was upset since I used to be his work girlfriend when we first met and thought I didn't like sharing the title. He also said that he was silent since he had just woken up, even though he was just staring at the ceiling for several minutes while I was a mess. He said he didn't tell me about driving her home from the party since he knew I wouldn't like it. Again, I thought we resolved the issue. He told me next time to just ask to look at his phone. He then sent her a message saying that the suggestive memes and all the messages needed to stop since it was unfair to his girlfriend. This girl then gave such a snarky reply, trying to downplay them as just pals with the same sense of humor. A few months later, I went on his phone again. I saw that they were still sending suggestive memes to one another. This time, he got angry. He was defending her, saying it wasn't necessarily suggestive memes, and ended up trying to turn it on me with my guy friends to just try and make points. He ended up changing his phone password and added a lock on his WhatsApp. We were then invited to a wedding for one of the co-workers, and this girl was going to be there. I told my boyfriend, who is a very touchy person, that I don't feel comfortable with him touching her, regardless if it's a hug, a handshake, or anything else, and we will do whatever we can to not sit next to her. He ended up touching her twice. Each time I reminded him to stop. We then had a big fight on the phone 2 weeks later because we never talked about the wedding. It was more of me bawling my eyes out and begging him to answer any questions or comments I had, but he was silent. He ended up saying that he was hurt since I didn't see that he was trying to work on his touchiness, since 2 touches was apparently him trying. Ever since, he never leaves his phone around me. I told him that I want him to tell me if anything happens between them, whether it's her sending him certain messages or certain exchanges at work. I've never told him that he can't talk to her. I just asked that he not touch her, be alone with her, or sit next to her. He went out with this group 2 times this month. The first time, he didn't even tell me that he was going. I asked him why, and he said, "Well, I didn't tell you that I got a haircut," as if a haircut and him lying and hurting my feelings are the same thing. It has been a year of dealing with this garbage, and I know that it's still continuing. My boyfriend is very stubborn. I'm going to confront him again and ask to read their messages. I'm not sure how to approach the situation when I find more inappropriate messages, and I just know that there will be more. I know he will never do anything physical with her, but it's really starting to feel like emotional cheating. What should I do? This definitely is a really rough situation because it looks like your boyfriend is not willing to change. Instead, it seems like he's more upset that you keep catching him in the act of basically flirting with his coworker. To me, it really begs the question of who he values more. Does he value his relationship with his girlfriend or this girl from work that he's clearly messaging and flirting with? And that might just be the question you need to see if you really want to stay with this guy. He doesn't completely seem like a winner, and if he's not even going to be honest with you when it comes to his dealings with his coworkers, then I'm hard-pressed to think that this relationship is ever going to last. I feel like my boyfriend is taking advantage of my finances, and I'm not sure what to do. So I'm a 21-year-old female, and I've been with my 29-year-old boyfriend for almost 4 years. We met when I was 18 years old. I am in school, and I am an athlete, and my boyfriend is a full-time athlete as well. In fact, we both met at the gym that we both train at. He has never had a car, and has often lived with his friends since I've known him. He had his own place for about a year. After that, he moved in with me temporarily between places, but he ended up living with me for about a year and never paid a single bill. I didn't ask him to, but he jacked up my electricity and sometimes bought groceries, but I still bought most of everything and did almost all the cooking and cleaning. I moved out of that place and now I'm with my parents while I'm in school. He is still looking for a place to live, but is currently living with a friend. He says he's renting a room, but I know he isn't paying. He also at the moment doesn't want to move back in together. The only way we hang out is if I drive 25 minutes one way to pick him up. I've been giving him rides for years and often drive back and forth late at night just so we can spend time together, as well as rides to the gym and everything in between. He will sometimes buy me dinner or rarely some groceries, but majority of the time it's me doing this. I buy his morning coffee, he eats at my place every time he's over. When we travel for competitions, my parents usually pay for the hotels. I just feel like he takes advantage of my parents having decent money and expects me to pay for a lot. But then I feel bad about being mad because I know he doesn't make much money. He just relies on teaching in our sport to make money. We've had a rough relationship with a lot of toxicity and breakups. These have mostly come from him, but I've done a couple of messed up things too. I don't know. I feel like he just expects me to do everything and that I should be grateful he gives me time. I still cook everything and I still do his laundry when he's over and still clean up after him at my parents' house. Is it normal that I feel like he's taking too much from me? How would you feel if you were in my shoes? He literally won't even give me a massage, but asks for them all day, every day for me. But I will say he does help me with my sport, since he's very talented and can be very emotionally supportive of 2. One other very important detail is the fact that he has a green card wife. Therefore, I'm assuming he will need money for a divorce. I think they have like 3 more years before they can separate. She lives close and I've never met her, but I know that they were good friends. So I also can't get married to him until I'm at least 25. What should I do? It's definitely a big red flag if after all this time he's not willing to step up and pay for things. Like he doesn't even do his own laundry, he doesn't clean up after himself, he doesn't buy groceries or anything. This seems like a very one-sided relationship. So in a lot of ways, I think he really is taking advantage of your kindness and generosity. He's taking your parents' money as well as your money, I think mostly because you're offering it. So from my perspective, it really seems like there's a big imbalance in this relationship. And I think it's for your benefit to tell him, hey, I need you to step up. I can't be expected to pay for everything and to do everything around the house. It's not fair and I feel like you're taking advantage of me. Or something along those lines, because that's what's happening. I'm sure he cares about you in a lot of different ways and provides you support emotionally and physically, but when it comes to finances, that's a big deal in my opinion. The fact that he's not willing to step up now makes me believe that he might be like that when you get married. So I would think carefully about this and maybe have a conversation with him, because this is something he needs to take seriously. Otherwise, he could very easily just keep taking your money and not contributing anything. I left my register to help a disabled customer get into their vehicle, only to then get chewed out by my self-righteous middle manager. Here's what happened. This happened back in March of 2021. I was 22 at the time, and I was working at a big brand name hardware home improvement store. It's the blue one if you know what I mean. I worked there as a cashier, and I had been there for a few months. At this particular store, you have several standard registers, and then customer service and the lumber registers at the other end of the store, both of which run on a different, older software than the standard registers. I've always had a knack for making computers work, and I figured out the older system pretty quickly. So I ended up being in customer service and lumber quite a bit, basically just filling in where I was needed. One night, it's about 7:30 on a Saturday or a Sunday, and it was absolutely quiet and apocalyptically slow in the store. I'm working the lumber register, and it's just me and a section manager in that part of the store. The incident in question starts when my manager is off working product, and an older gentleman, I'll say mid-70s to early 80s, comes up pushing a cart with a couple of 2x4s and a couple sheets of plywood on it, pushing all of this with just one hand. As I start to ring him up, he mentions that he has no use of his other arm and asks if I can get some help to assist him in loading this into his car. I hop on the intercom, call for load assistance at lumber, and start ringing his order up. A few minutes go by and I get no response. I ask for load assistance once again and still no response. I even call 2 more times just as a safety, but still nothing. I then directly call my store manager's phone that he has on him, but not even he answers. At this point, the transaction's done, he's paid up, and I'm getting really upset. So I say, screw it, pull your car around, I'll help you out. He is super thankful and goes to get the car. I open the garage door that's down at the end of the store and we get it done. At this point, I will note that technically, store policy states that I'm not supposed to leave my register. However, I was helping people load things into their cars for a good 25 to 30 times in the last couple of months, all while working there. So I honestly didn't think anything of it, not even mentioning that I could see my register from the loading area. The garage door was open, so I figured it would be fine. And I even let the customer know that I might need to run back in and ring up a customer if someone comes by, and he said that he wouldn't mind that either. Of course, I never had to. Like I said, it was unbelievably quiet. No one was in the store. It took me maybe 4 to 5 minutes to get him all loaded up. He shakes my hand and takes off. As I'm walking back inside, my manager is magically coming back to his desk, right next to the register, only to then lay into me for going outside and helping this elderly customer. He looks at me and says, "Where were you?" I said, "I was helping that guy load his car just over there." He says, "You can't just leave. You're supposed to call for loading assistance." I tried to explain to him that I did call multiple times, and that I even tried calling him, but he wasn't having it. He just cut me off and continued to berate me for literally helping a disabled customer. I'm not a violent or confrontational person, but when I tell you it took every fiber of my being to not curse him out or to escalate the situation, this situation certainly fit the bill. And honestly, I've never met a more holier-than-thou middle manager with less to stand on. After that incident of getting reprimanded for helping a disabled customer, I quit my job like 10 days later. I didn't even put in a 2-week notice. I just straight up quit, and honestly, I'm better off without those people anyways. That manager really sucks. It's not like this person didn't try and ask for help or call somebody to be like, "Hey, come on over here and help me load this car." This guy even had a phone on him that this person tried to call them, and they literally just ignored it. So honestly, good for the original poster for quitting this job, because you could do so much better than this garbage. Because honestly, having managers like that is really a miserable experience, and no one should ever have to put up with that. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description, and the next time you live stream, use the Cream of the Crop music. Search Cream of the Stream on Spotify or whatever platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your next stream.